Tri-City Sports Now, and now we have one of our own, a product of Sullivan South, the 1987 Tennessee State baseball champions. Well, Tristan Archer wasn't on that team, but he currently is on the Colorado Sky Sox. If you're not familiar, that is the AAA affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers, who, of course, are contending with the Chicago Cubs for the NL Central title. Archer is coming out of the bullpen right now after being drafted by the Brewers 5 years ago. And I wanted to have some of the local products on the show in terms of, that sort of, I wanted to have some of the local baseball products on the show. Tristan Archer, a pleasure to make your acquaintance. And, in some ways I hate to begin with this, but there was a Brewers pitcher, I'm sure you saw, Ryan Burroughs, who was getting some difficulty due to some tweets that he made out when he was a teenager. My question is this: when you see a story like that and you're in the minor leagues, is there a feeling of, oh, good, I might get my chance now?
No, that's definitely nothing that you want to see happen or how you want to make it up there when you see stuff like that.
No, obviously, but I mean, you're in the circumstance right now, coming out of the bullpen for the Sky Sox, and I guess, and I was talking to you outside, off the air here to begin this, but yeah, when September call-ups come on and the need for a pennant race and such, have you got any, have you heard any interest, or have you got any hints that, you know what, maybe you could be joining the bullpen in Milwaukee for the stretch run this season?
I haven't heard anything, any hints or anything like that. I'm just going to try and keep throwing the ball as best as I can and try and put myself in a good position for that to happen.
Well, you're looking at this and a veteran of the minors, but this year, like I said, coming out of the bullpen, the ERA isn't real good, but it's still a nice strikeouts to walks ratio at 48-14 is what I've got you with, as well as a hit standings pitched ratio at about 53-53. And it should be mentioned that when you go to the Pacific Coast League and Colorado Springs, obviously your ERA goes up because of the altitude and such. Tell me about this. I've heard things about how, for instance, the Colorado Rockies organization does not like to hire breaking ball pitchers because, in the altitude of Denver, the breaking ball stays up that much longer and all this. Have you had to change your style of pitching at all after you went from Biloxi or even the Dominican Winter League to Colorado Springs?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. You can tell throwing here with the breaking ball, like you said. And I wouldn't say I had to change the way I pitch. You just really got to make sure that you're as best as you can every time, because the one time you could get away with one that backs up on you in the lower altitude spot, the one here is just going to spin up there and stay up in the zone.
I know it's not comparable to the Pacific Coast League and the Rocky Mountains, but it has been said that the Appalachian League, and for that matter East Tennessee, it's a higher altitude than, say, Atlanta or Florida or someplace like that. Was there ever, when you were growing up in Kingsport, that area, was there ever any greater emphasis then to, as you said, pound the ball and rely more on heat than on breaking pitches?
I don't think, I never played at a high enough level. I guess just high school there, where I really probably would ever realize that. So I don't think that ever affected me when I played there.
I see, and all this. Now, I want to take you back to Sullivan South, and I'm going to ask you an open-ended question. I know you also played at Tennessee Tech, but Tristan Archer, what are some of the better memories that you have of pitching at Sullivan South?
It's been so long. I think my junior year was definitely the best year we had there. I think it was awesome getting to, I think we made it to sub-state, I guess one game away from going to the state championships, and we went to Farragut to play, and that was pretty exciting to watch. And then now I remember facing some of the guys I know now in pro ball.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Pfeiffer, I remember he pitched against us that game. Then Nicky Delmonico was with the White Sox. He was the second baseman. I believe they were both freshmen at the time.
Okay, so,
But
yeah.
definitely an experience getting to go play up there because that's such a storied program at Farragut.
And as I mentioned, I mean, South has also had the reputation of being one of the better baseball programs in the area. I mentioned they won a state title 30 years ago, and I know that's before you're born. But still, it does add to some legitimacy to the program when you're able to put that on your field and such. Question that I have, though, is, of course, Sullivan South is soon going to be no more. It's going to change to Westridge, consolidating with Central and North and such. Do you have any opinions on that? What's it going to be like when there's no more Sullivan South High School for you?
Yeah, it's going to definitely be weird. I don't know. I haven't seen a timeline of when that's going to be taking place, but it'll definitely be weird. I remember growing up with some of my family's not originally from that area. Moved down when I was in elementary school, but some of my friends' dads, they went to Sullivan West, which was not in existence anymore.
Yeah.
So now that's kind of going to be, if I end up back there, with kids and my kids end up at that school, then, yeah, your parents went to a school that doesn't exist either. It's kind of weird to think about.
The Pirates, the Sullivan West Pirates, and such. I know you were born in Garden City, Michigan. Is that where you moved from to Tennessee? What brought your family down south?
Yes, that is. I think every time my dad just always says he was sick of the cold weather. He just wanted to get out of there.
Ah.
All my grandparents are from the South. I got granddad he's from the Bluff City area.
Mm-hmm.
And Georgia, North Carolina, and Alabama. So I guess I don't know exactly how they picked Kingsport, but I know they just wanted to get out of the cold up there in Michigan.
It wasn't for the smell, I can tell you that.
Absolutely.
We're talking to Tristan Archer, but no, you mentioned Bluff City and all that, so I can kind of see that. So your father actually, they relocated kind of to retire. It wasn't like a transfer for their job or anything like that, Tristan Archer.
Yeah, it wasn't a transfer, but he definitely moved down here to work.
Okay.
But
where did he work at?
He's Mountain Region Family Medicine.
Okay.
In Colonial Heights.
I see. Okay. And Colonial Heights, obviously, that goes hand in hand with Sullivan South. We're talking to Tristan Archer, who currently is coming out of the bullpen of the Colorado Sky Sox, which is the Pacific Coast League affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers, 27 years old. Now, last winter, you actually pitched in the Dominican Winter League. What was that experience like? I know and you had some very nice success there, posting a 1.26 ERA. What was that experience like, and what was the motivation, actually, to go pitch in the Dominican Winter League?
That was actually one of the best baseball experiences I would say I've had. You get there, and it's all about winning. That's all those guys talk about down there, and it's fun. Sometimes you lose track of that playing here, with the development coming up. But there, it's strictly winning, and I had a blast. We had a lot of good guys on that team down there, and I really enjoyed being down there.
What was the culture like? Because I know the Dominican, and I've been around baseball myself. I've been a broadcaster on a minor league team that was heavily dominated by Dominicans. And there seems to be, in my opinion, a little bit different style of play. That old, run to first base on a walk, American kind of style. You got to hustle. Not quite felt the same way, in my opinion, in the Dominican Republic. But just when you were down there, did you sense this is a poorer country? What were the cultural changes that you noticed?
Where I was playing, I got to stay in the capital, Santo Domingo, which, you could definitely, driving around, you drove past the poor areas, and it was the building just seemed a little more run down, but all in all, it just seemed like any other city I've been in, just a little bit older, I would say, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But, I really enjoyed it. And then the driving there was a little bit crazy. I don't think I would ever want to drive there.
No, it's right there. But you actually were able to play with many major leaguers on your team, which was, and forgive me if I am mispronouncing this, but Leonanis del Escogido. And that was the name of your team. But, I'm noticing, for instance, Sterling Marte of the Pittsburgh Pirates was one of your teammates while you were down there. I'm sure, you're in AAA, you're dealing with ex-major leaguers or, you're at that level. But what was the level of competition like? Was it comparable in Dominican Winter League to what you're facing right now at AAA?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely comparable. There's playing the teams, you definitely see a lot of older, like you said, ex-major leaguers that were Dominican that would still be playing down there. I remember Emilio Bonifacio played on the team. I'm trying to think of other names. But, I think it was more like the older guys that just may be on the outs of their career still, but they still go down there and play. But, I definitely say it's comparable to the level of play here because, when they get the guys from, like, the foreigners to go play, they're typically looking for the AA, AAA players to go down there and play. So I would say that it's very comparable to AAA here.
All right. Now, you also mentioned it was about winning down there, and I've heard that. Whereas now it's about development. It drives me crazy, for instance, when I see in the Appalachian League a pitcher like Josias Gray, and I'm not really asking you to know that, but he's a pitcher for the Greenville Reds. He throws 5 no-hit innings, and okay, take a shower, that's it, And you can imagine. If you were in the major leagues throwing a no-hitter and being taken out like that, how would you feel? I could have been immortal here. But my question then is, what other comparisons can you give me playing even on a AAA level, which is, very high, but you're playing for development and not for, quote unquote, the pennant so much? Can you give me an example of the difference as a player that you feel playing for development instead of victories?
Well, I think at the AAA level, it's a lot more about winning than at, say, the rookie ball or the low A levels. But, like you said, it's the pitching standpoint. You've got guys still in good counts, I would say, is one thing. And then you still have it's like more so in the lower levels, you just have guys that would have to play certain positions, certain amount of times a week or so, which I think is what some of the main things were. That was different, I guess.
Okay.
But down there, if you're the hot hand, you're in there every day, no matter what.
And it's obviously more of this is your turn in AAA and all that. Well, I should know this, but I don't. A AAA roster in the Appalachian League, you can have 35 guys. How many guys can you have on your roster in AAA? Obviously, the majors it's 25.
Yeah, it's also 25 active for us as well.
Okay, I wasn't quite sure what that was. Now, I do want to also ask you this, Tristan Archer. You've been in pro ball since 2013. Are you eligible to be a free agent if you're not called up to the big club after this year, 6 years in pro ball? Is this your free agent year, so to speak?
Actually, I would have one more year after this year. So after the 2019 season, if no call-up, I would be a free agent.
I see. Okay, I wasn't quite sure if it was one more year or another, so that was something to look to. What does your gut tell you? Does your gut tell you, because, like I said, the ERA is high, but that's part of the Pacific Coast League. So a lot of things, as I mentioned, the strikeouts to walk ratio is real good. The hits to innings pitch ratio is real good. And to tell you the truth, in the Pacific Coast League, only allowing 5 home runs in 53 innings is not that bad. We had 10 home runs in the All-Star game, for crying out loud. That was in D.C. So, what does your gut tell you? Do you get the sense that, yeah, I'm real close? Or is it still part of the daily grind for you, Tristan?
I tell myself I wouldn't do this if I didn't think that I had an actual shot at some point to make it up. And like you said, I'm just going to continue my daily grind and try and pitch as best as I can, and hopefully that opportunity comes sooner rather than later.
Well, there you go. Like I said, I mean, there may be and I know it said it's not the way that you wanted it, but if it happened, but there may be a spot, who knows, with the Brewers, but certainly the rosters expand when you're at to up to 40 guys on September 1st. And the other thing that I believe would happen if you did get the call up then is that the Brewers could control your rights a little bit more. And that's desirable, I think, for a big league organization, certainly, to be able to, say, okay, now you're a big leaguer, and we got you in the organization for 6 years. So there you are. I mean, you've got that going on your side, too. Plus, at 27 years old right now, about ready to approach the prime year of 28. So, anyway, anything else to add? Anything else to tell the people in the Tri-Cities where you're, at least you're from for about half of your life or so?
Oh, I got nothing.
You got nothing?
Yeah.
He's got... Hopefully it's not like that the next time you take the mound. Tristan Archer from Sullivan South by way of Tennessee Tech and now the Colorado Sky Sox, AAA affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers. And after getting swept by the Pirates, they've been sinking. So they may be looking to the farm. Tristan, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for joining me. You can watch this interview again on the 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities Facebook page. Until then, I'm going to talk a little bit more about baseball. I want to talk about what's right, but so many times it just seems like the sport is attacked. And, well, there you go. Tri-City Sports Now. You ever notice that the sport...